we're going to be discussing the news that David Raya may be an Arsenal player very soon. Buvey, how do you feel about this one?
This is very, very exciting for me if I was an Arsenal fan. And I've got to explain it in the terms that for, 6 months, 9 months now, I've been saying Aaron Ramsdale, he's a big, shouty keeper. I know why Arsenal fans like him because he shows a lot of fight, a lot of spirit. I get that. And he's not a bad keeper. Is he good enough to take Arsenal back to the top of the Premier League consistently? Is he a David Seaman level? Is he a Schmeichel, a Peter Cech level goalkeeper? For me, no. I don't think he ever will be. That's just my opinion. And I think someone like Raya actually has a much higher ceiling. I think he's a far better shot stopper. He's an absolute massive keeper. And I think they're comparable with their feet as well. Brentford play expansive football out from the back as well. So I think this is massive for Arsenal. It's pure competitiveness in the Arsenal goalkeeping division.
Why are you so... Hostile might not be the right word, or maybe it is actually. I'm going to go with it. Why are you so hostile to Aaron Ramsdale?
It's a mixture of, I think he's very shouty. I think keepers who are shouty with limited ability, for me, always frustrates me as a football fan.
May I interject and make a comparison to someone who I know that you rate highly and like, Joe Hart?
Yeah, Joe Hart. I think Joe Hart's... there was that thing with Iceland in Euro 2016. He was kind of so pumped up. Even in Euro 2012, I remember that similar kind of thing. He was so pumped up that it kind of masqueraded a lack of quality, a lack of focus. And I think Ramsdale can be held accountable a little bit for that. I think he flapped at things in that. Remember that title, the Premier League title run in 3 or 4 games where I felt he flapped at things. I felt that if Alisson was in goal, he would have shored up that defence. We talk about, injury to Saliba. What happened behind that back four? I know that Rob Holding came in, wasn't quite good enough in terms of the quality, but the keeper behind him was flapping at things. The keeper behind them wasn't in good form. Imagine having Raya behind you when you have Rob Holding in your back line. Things become a little bit more secure. So I think it's a good move. It's shrewd business.
Do you want to win £1 million? Of course you do, and you can win it totally and utterly for free. All you have to do is go to the link in the description and download the Super 6 app. If, on the first weekend of the Premier League season, you manage to get 6 Premier League scores totally and utterly correct, you will win £1 million. Did I mention that it won't even cost you a penny to play? Make sure that you join our brand new club league. The code is CLUB23, where you can test yourself against Buvey, Adam McKola, and myself. We will all be competing. So if you think that you've got better football knowledge than Adam McKola, Lawrence Buvey and myself, come and prove it. The link is in the description below. And remember, I'm offering you here for free, a totally free shot at £1 million. See you there. All right then, Buvey, imagine a world where David Raya becomes an Arsenal goalkeeper. Who's the number one?
I think right now it still would be Ramsdale, because of the level that he has been at. He's now a keeper that's got Arsenal back to being second and fighting for a Premier League title. I'm not trying to be snooty towards that. But I think if in a 4, 5, 6 year outlooks, both keepers are very young, which is why I also think it's a very good deal for Arsenal. I think Raya's a better keeper. I think he's got a higher ceiling. I can't think of a mistake he's made. Now, I know Brentford is a far less kind of pressurised situation than the Emirates. I get it. But I think of Ramsdale being relegated so many times. And for me...
The thing is, you wouldn't remember, though, to be fair. And by the way, a lot of this, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But a lot of... if I were to say Aaron Ramsdale mistakes, you can think of them. The game against Southampton, you can think of them. They come to your mind. But the reason that they come to your mind is because it was Arsenal, and Arsenal were in a title run-in, and your team were competing with them, and it's a big club, a huge club that were going for the title, and therefore it's memorable. You saying you can't remember David Raya making any mistakes, I agree with you, by the way. Off the top of my head, I can't either. But it's because it was at Brentford.
Yeah, but there's also this thing with goalkeepers. I think maybe it's a little bit superstitious almost, but when a keeper would come like Raya would come to Arsenal without those kind of big profile mistakes, because he's come from Brentford, then I do think that he's got this kind of cleaner slate. That's how I see it. I think when Mancini had Shea Given and Joe Hart in the team, Shea Given was a top 10, top 8 level keeper in the Premier League. And he chose Joe Hart first game of the season against Spurs at White Hart Lane. Tough place to go. And that kind of clean slate that Joe Hart had took him so far. He was fantastic for 2, 3, 4 years. So I think Raya could come in and at the very least, make it very competitive with a kind of this clean slate, no mistakes. Even Arteta could be looking at the fact that maybe Ramsdale was a little bit weak in that Premier League running. Raya would come in with a whole fresh approach.
Yeah, well, this is a problem, I think. If you are a Man City fan as you are, you're going to be looking at this thinking Arsenal are your nearest challengers and you don't really want them to strengthen. I'm a Chelsea fan. I desperately want Chelsea to finish above Arsenal, but failing that, I desperately don't want Arsenal to win the league. They're one of our biggest rivals. I'm from that part of the world. I could really live without them doing well. This feels a bit like a statement signing to me, just because strengthening a position of strength is very impressive. Like, if Aaron Ramsdale were to leave, if he were to leave and David Raya were to be purchased, you go, okay, maybe it's an upgrade, maybe it's not. There's a different debate. But there is something very significant about a club like Arsenal having a good goalkeeper, having a goalkeeper that played very well for them last season, earned them a lot of points, was certainly conducive to play the Arteta way. He started quite a lot of their attacks. He was a very, very good keeper and had a very good season. And yet they're still looking to upgrade. They're still looking to improve. Do you know what it reminds me of? Chelsea won the league 05, right? Well, simply by association, we had the best midfield in the league. Lampard, McKola, whatever you want to do. It was undoubtedly the best midfield in the league. Do you know what we did that summer? We had the best midfield in the league. We didn't need replenishments, but everybody needs Mikel Arteta, so we went and signed him.
Yeah.
We were the best midfield, champions, and we also won a cup that year. We were the best team in the country by a distance. We strengthened a position where we were already strong. We strengthened when we were at the top. And I think that Arsenal, even being linked with improving a position where they're already strong, it tells us about the ambition of the club and what Arteta's hoping to do. Is this significant?
It has to be significant. I think there's two ways of looking at it. I think it'd be significant if Liverpool, Man City, even Man United had done it. I mean, Arsenal haven't won a league in 20 years, and they've now gone out and spent, it's going to be, close to 240 million quid. Kai Havertz is another. You just said about Mikel Arteta, it's a great example. And Arsenal are doing that with Kai Havertz. They had Vieira. They spent 35 million quid on Vieira last season. What happened to him? Maybe they loan him out this summer. Who knows? At the moment, he's still an Arsenal player. He's a forward-thinking midfielder that didn't work out. Kai Havertz has come in. That's nearly 100 million quid for those two. So Odegaard's already there. Emil Smith-Rowe is a fantastic young talent that didn't get any time last season, even though he did come back from injury. So it's a strange one for me. And whatever you say about it, Arsenal are a big football institution, and they're going to be spending close to 80 million quid on two keepers. Their two keepers will cost 80 million quid. It's not a joke transfer.
Yeah.
It's a serious piece of business.
Neither of these goalkeepers can actually be number two, though, can they? They're both too good. However highly you rate either of them, whatever frailties you see in either of them, you would agree that both should start Premier League football. Neither of these goalkeepers, not Ramsdale, not David Raya, are bench-worthy goalkeepers. I
think you can do a year where they battle it out. I think you've got those Champions League games in the group stages. You could easily split both 50-50. We've seen Chelsea do that with Mendy and Kepa at various points.
They're both keepers that neither of whom should be number one.
Of course.
So it's like, in terms of, can you think of a situation where two, Cech and Kudicini maybe?
Yeah, that's close.
Can you think of a situation where...
I'd go back to my club with Joe Hart and Shea Given, because Shea Given was exceptional, and then he didn't get a kick. He didn't get a kick, and Joe Hart helped us win the Premier League within a year. We won the FA Cup that season as well. So it's really, really difficult. I think what I was going to say about that, I think the proof is in the pudding with Ramsdale. I think he becomes a number two a lot easier than you think. Plus, people talk about his England kind of credentials and should he leave before Euros, mate. For me, nowhere near starts for any England game in Euro 2024.
He's certainly nearly started. Like, whether you think Pickford's England's number one, the season that Pickford had and the season that Ramsdale had, there's a conversation, Buvey. It isn't as clear-cut as you've just
Pickford's
portrayed.
very close to... I think Pickford would have outperformed Ramsdale in the Arsenal goal last season. I think he's a better keeper. He's playing for Everton. Okay. He's getting smashed week in, week out.
In
he
your
kept them
opinion,
up last season.
I know, and I do agree with you. I like Pickford. I think he gets a bit of a rough ride. I think he's a very good goalie. And I know that you rate him possibly even higher than I do. But we have to be a little bit more fair here. You can't position it that Ramsdale isn't nearly England's number one, because he is. He finished second in the league, had a very good season. Pickford nearly went down and will probably...
Will he get games against some of the, Ukraine? We're playing Ukraine and Italy in some...
No, I'm talking about starting in Germany.
No way. He's not proven himself. Pickford's proven himself in 3 tournaments. He was stellar. He's got us through knockout football penalties at the World Cup in 2018.
Boof.
You can't just drop him ahead of Euro 2024.
Pickford was number one and Ramsdale wasn't in contention. That gap has become so close now that there is a debate. Some would argue that Ramsdale should be England's number one already.
Yeah.
if Aaron Ramsdale suddenly doesn't become a starter for Arsenal, that massively hampers his chances. Not only of starting, potentially of going. If you're not playing for Arsenal, if David Raya were to come in and totally take over, he is Arsenal's number one. Ramsdale's sitting on the bench. I think you then go, hang on a minute, there's a lot of good goalkeepers around for England at the moment. Obviously, Nick Pope is in this. Jordan Pickford's going to start.
Yep.
There's going to be other goalkeepers who would potentially supersede him there.
I don't think the England debate is as interesting because I think he could play all 38 games in the Premier League next season, no Raya, and then I don't think he'd still get close to England. That's just my take on it. I think he could play every single game, have a great Champions League campaign. I still think Southgate would trust Pickford first game of the Euro 2024 campaign.
That doesn't mean it's right.
I don't think he's going to leave Arsenal for the sake of potentially being number one for England.
You may be correct, and I probably agree with you that you are correct. Southgate will pick Pickford. Doesn't make it correct though.
I think it is. You've got to trust your keeper.
Do you think David Raya is a signing that is big and strong enough to win Arsenal the league?
Yeah. I actually think my gut reaction is I think he's got the ability to be a world-class goalie. I honestly don't think Ramsdale has that ability.
I think Ramsdale has to leave.
Yeah, but who comes in? England tax is going to be expensive.
Hang on, just think about the clubs that Ramsdale could go to and immediately improve. I mean, look, you've got to look no further than my club.
Yeah, but you won't go to Chelsea.
No, I'm not
competitive reasons.
I'm just saying. I know it won't happen, but I'm just saying, if you're Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya is signed, that's got to be a kick in the teeth.
Of course.
And therefore, you potentially weigh up your options. And I think he'd look around the Premier League and he'd look at how many situations.
Struggling. This is the thing, right? You're struggling now because
no, he starts for Tottenham. I'm not suggesting he goes there.
Tottenham, you're bang on in terms of the level. You're bang on.
Do you think I'm struggling for clubs to say where he starts?
As you were saying that, I'm thinking Villa. No, he's not better. He doesn't start for Brighton because of steel and his ability with his feet. Even Burnley have signed Trafford for 90 million quid, and you think that's he could be England's number one more than Ramsdale in the next few years, in my opinion. So I think where's he going? Bottom half club. Where's he going? Sheffield United. Back to Sheffield United. I mean, he's been relegated with Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Where's he going? Luton.
Your hostility to Ramsdale. I quite enjoy it. I like occasionally we do this as football fans, don't we? We just adopt like an irrational dislike.
I just think he's been relegated loads of times. I don't like. Look, I wouldn't mind it if he was just an average keeper and Arsenal fans saying he's a solid option like a Rob Holding. Yeah. People say he's like the next David Seaman.
I thought he was. There were. Do you know what? Do you know when they beat? You know when Arsenal beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane or whatever they call it? He was amazing. He was remember he got kicked? Do you remember a fan ran on and kicked him?
Yeah.
That day, I'm telling you, Tottenham were really good that day. I know that isn't how the history will remember the game, right? But we did it on here. Tottenham were brilliant. The only reason that Arsenal won the game 2-0 was Ramsdale. If Ramsdale was in a Tottenham net, Tottenham would have won the game 2-0.
Every keeper's got that story, haven't they? Every keeper.
What, you think it's just a one-off?
Every keeper's got that story of making 20 saves in a game.
What, will you give me one of them? Well done, Raw. You've remembered the one game.
Well done, Ramsdale, for making a few saves against Harry Kane. Congratulations, mate.
Okay, well, we'll see how that one goes. This is interesting. I like it when this happens, Boo, because when you and I are like this, basically one of us is correct. You know, like we're not aligned here at all. You're thinking that Ramsdale is average at best, and I'm thinking that he is probably ready to start for England. So this season, one of us is going to be proven correct.
100%.